Hola, salud, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo ça va? For a little over a year now, I have been learning French and Spanish at the same time. And one really good tip that I have been following is that I should be using my knowledge of the Spanish language to learn French. So thankfully, I've been able to do that with some YouTube channels that I've been watching. Francesco Oliver. So this channel is very interesting because the creator of it, he is a native French speaker, and his channel is dedicated to Spanish speakers that are learning French. So there is no English at all. He's usually speaking Spanish like a little bit, or he's speaking French. But it really just depends on what type of video that you are watching. Now, one thing that really inspires me about Oliver or Oliver, I'm not sure how to pronounce that in French, but I like the fact that he uses his natural French accent when he is speaking Spanish. Now, this is very inspirational because I have had a lot of struggle with accepting the way that I speak Spanish with my just neutral accent, with my natural accent. So I know a lot of times in the past, I would try to force an accent, but just listening to the way that Oliver speaks when he is speaking Spanish just really inspires me just to accept the way that I speak. So for his channel, he wants to dar todos los tips, consejos y técnicas para que puedas aprender francés fácil, rápidamente y sin aburrirte. Also, his channel is dedicated for those who quiere estudiar o trabajar a Francia, quieres viajar a Francia y sentirte cómodo con el idioma y quiere aprender este lindo idioma por placer y abrir tu mente a otra cultura. I really like his teaching style. So he is very personable, and when he's making videos, he's usually just in front of his camera, so it's just face to face. And he does a lot of repetition as well. And one of my favorite parts is, again, depending on what type of video he's making, he is going to say the French version of that word or phrase, and then he will say the Spanish version of that afterwards. So I really like being able to hear both at the same time. And again, this is not English, so I get to stay in French and Spanish mode. And some of the videos that he has created are Cómo pronunciar la R en francés, consejos de un nativo francés, insultar en francés, 8 insultos y groserías muy fuertes que usan los nativos. Aprende francés en 30 días, 15 palabras con las letras A, U, N, E, A, U. El fabuloso destino de Amélie Poulain. And this video was actually really interesting because he just broke down everything that was said in a trailer for that movie. So he just had like a slide up, and then it had all the different phrases that were used, and he was just explaining what all those meant. And that was primarily in French. Another reason why I like his teaching style is because he leverages his experience learning Spanish. So what he wrote in his description is, el método que utilizó es basado sobre mis experiencias como profesor y mi aprendizaje del español. So I don't know how he learned Spanish yet. I'm not sure if he has a video on that, but I would just like to understand what that experience was like. So what really influenced his method for teaching. Pareciendo. Now, this channel was created by Fabiola and Julian. Now, Fabiola is de Mexico, is from Mexico, and Julian is from France. And this channel is dedicated to beginners in French like myself. So I like it a lot. And again, there's many videos that are in French and in Spanish, so I get to stay in that mode and not have to think about English at all. And also, this channel really reminds me of the channel Why Not Spanish. So that is dedicated to English or English speakers learning Spanish. And primarily because Cody and Maria share a lot about their journeys learning Spanish and English. And these experiences are a big part of how they actually teach. They also have a variety of ways that they teach Spanish. So it's not just like they're just teaching grammar rules and that's it. And the same thing with Pareciendo. So on this channel, you will find videos that are about consejos para aprender francés y motivarte, vocabulario útil, palabras y expresiones usadas en la vida cotidiana en Francia, un poco de gramática, cultura francesa, películas o series francesas, libros en francés, herramientas y técnicas de aprendizaje, y finalmente entrevistas de franceses y hispanohablantes que te cuentan su experiencia. So I love the variety of videos that they have. And I would say that this type of channel is my favorite for learning a language because I feel like I can be very well-rounded as a French learner. So I'm not just learning just a little bit about grammar and some words and phrases, but I get to learn a lot about the culture. And for me, that is very important because I know how closely connected language and culture are. Fabiola has one video that is dedicated to sharing her experience learning French. And I really connected with this video because she talks a lot about her struggles trying to learn French in school. And she did not learn that much French when she was in high school. And I think it was also middle school. Let me see. Well, she started when she was 14, so like middle school, but she was in Mexico at the time. And then even when she got to the university level, she went to France for a year. And even then, she still felt like she did not learn that much. She did not feel that she was fluent. And that really surprised me that even after a full year of being in France, she still didn't feel very confident in being able to speak French. And also, after this, she eventually moved back to France and she became a Spanish teacher for adults and became fluent in French. And some titles of videos on this channel are Choques Culturales en Francia, mi experiencia en París, Las vacaciones de verano en París, 10 falsos cognatos en francés, pronunciación en francés, las vocales compuestas. Y el último es 10 expresiones de sorpresa en francés. One funny thing is, I have no idea what the name of their channel actually means. So it's Pareciendo, so I don't know if that is Spanish or if that's like a mixture of French and Spanish. I'm trying to think. Is it from pareciar? If like that's the Spanish verb, I have no idea what that means. Perago FALEA con Gladys Mombier. So this is another YouTube channel that has been an amazing resource for me to learn French. Also, here is another word that really confuses me. Perago, which is in the name of the channel, and I'm really not sure what that means, but I need to look that up. The funny thing is, I've been watching the videos on this channel for about, I would say, 4 or 5 months. But I just looked at the description for the first time and then I found out just this week that este canal está dirigido especialmente para niños y niñas entre 5 y 10 años debido a que el nivel de dificultad es leve. So this channel is dedicated for Spanish-speaking students or Spanish speakers in general, Spanish-speaking children in between 5 and 10 years old. And honestly, I thought this channel was dedicated more for French learners that were in high school or something like that. But I guess that just says a lot about my Spanish level. My favorite video and also the first video that I ever watched on Gladys's channel is titled 45 verbos más básicos francés y cómo conjugar en presente, clase 74. And one big reason why I like this video in particular is because she explains all the different verbs on a whiteboard. So I get a really good visual. And if you know anything about me, I love whiteboards for learning and also for explaining things as well. So she explains with great detail how to conjugate the verbs that have the endings of ER, IR, RE, OIR, DRE, and TRE. So there are a decent amount of them. As well, she starts with the indicative version of the verb, and then she explains what each of the conjugations are. But then the best part about it is that she explains with really good detail which ones are irregular and which ones are regular verb conjugations. And then she'll also write out what the Spanish part or the Spanish version of that French verb conjugation is. So I get to compare the two and see what is similar in between the two and what is different in between them. Also, I love how in this video, she's primarily speaking in Spanish, but of course, when she's actually pronouncing the different French verbs, then she's saying that in French with a French accent. So I think that is pretty cool. One big thing that caught my attention about Gladys when I first started to watch her videos was her accent. And not because I could not understand her when she was speaking Spanish, but by the very fact that I could understand her very well, but I had no idea where she was from. Now, this is really amazing because I really haven't met that many Venezuelans in my life, so it's really challenging for me to even to pick out their accent if I heard it. Also, I haven't really watched any videos or content creators that are from Venezuela. I haven't really listened to many songs that are from Venezuela. So her channel is giving me this great opportunity to get exposed to this new accent. And so far, it has been quite different from what I am used to because the S sound is very, very faint when she speaks sometimes. So instead of saying like ustedes, I've heard her say ustedes, ustedes. It's like really airy. And the same thing with the word está. Instead of hearing está, I hear more of esta, esta. So I don't know how to describe it. I don't know exactly what the name of this type of pronunciation style is, but I love it. And of course, I get to hear her French accent as well. So it's pretty cool to be hearing a Venezuelan speak French, especially because a lot of her videos, she does a mixture of different things. So like in this video in particular with the verbs that she's explaining, she's speaking primarily in Spanish, but then she's saying the different verbs in French. But then other videos, they are completely in French and there's like no Spanish at all except for maybe the introduction. Now, some of the titles of her videos are Aprender la hora en francés, clase 24, Cómo mejorar el acento en francés, vocabulario de la comida en francés, y conversación en francés, nivel intermedio. I think Gladys's language learning journey is also very inspirational. So she learned French while she was in Venezuela. Then after that, she went to France and she started to teach Spanish while she was there. And now she's also teaching Spanish and French on YouTube. So that is pretty amazing. I'm very happy that there are channels like these that are teaching French from Spanish. And honestly, it is a very strange experience because beforehand, before I started to learn French, I was only watching videos that were either in English or they were in Spanish. So just those two languages. But now I just have French and Spanish with these channels. So it's really different because I'm working in two different languages that are not my native language. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just very confusing at times, I'll say that. One big thing that I was worrying about a lot before I started to learn French was how am I going to balance both of these languages? But again, with these channels, I'm able to do just that. I don't have to really separate my French and my Spanish studies because I can listen to a little bit of French and a little bit of Spanish at the same time in one video. So that is just absolutely amazing and it just saves me a lot of time as well. Let me know in the comment section below if you are currently learning French and Spanish at the same time. What YouTube channels have you been watching to help you learn these languages? Watch this next video to find out what some of the strategies I am using to learn French and Spanish at the same time. Y adios.